Hi there, my name is Elsa. My parents always thought I was a little kid. They never took my opinion into account. They never let me go for walks, and in general, they never gave me any right to choose. Over the years, my anger only grew, and my parents imposed even more sanctions to somehow restrain me, but it all went wrong. I came home one day after school, 5 minutes late, tops. From the threshold, my mother met me and started yelling something about my punishment. It would have been okay if I was accompanied by my friends. They were used to the fact that I was often punished for nothing. They never even paid attention, but at that point, I was accompanied home by my boyfriend, Louis. We had been going out for a couple of weeks at most. Since I couldn't go out with him in the evening, he had decided to walk me home at least from school. I warned him about my parents, but Louis was adamant that he didn't care because he liked me. That won me over. Still, I was embarrassed that he was seeing my mother for the first time and in this light. "Oh, Mom," I said to myself. Louis squeezed my hand harder. I wanted to let it go and say goodbye to him, but he took it tighter and then took a step forward toward my mother. "Oh no, Louis, don't," I said, but it was too late. He said hello to my mom, and she got into this pose, like, "Who are you and what do you want?" Louis tried to be as polite as possible, but it didn't work. My mom walked out of the house, and my dad followed her. They embarrassed me in front of my boyfriend, in front of my neighbors. I was ready to go to hell. "Do you even know how old she is? Why are you holding her hand? Let go of her right now, or I'll sue you for molestation. How old are you, over 21? My parents wouldn't budge. Louis took a step back with each suggestion, then I shielded him with my own body, stood up to face my folks, and yelled, "He's 20 and I'm 17 already, and stop controlling me, stop it!" I yelled. That only added fuel to the fire. "You want to end up like your brother? Get in the house right now," my mother yelled. Louis and I had to say goodbye. A few hours later, after I'd listened to a shitload of complaints, I locked myself in my room and called Louis and we chatted for a while. Then he asked the question, "What did your parents mean when they said your brother? I didn't know you had one." I sighed. "Yes, I do," I began. "And it's true, I do have an older brother. His name is Michael. I've only seen him a few times in my life. He wasn't home a lot. Mom and Dad would always fight when it came to him. Dad told me that when he was my age, Michael got mixed up with the wrong people, fell for a scam, then started disappearing more and more, coming home in the morning or not coming home at all. My parents wanted him to finish school and go to college. My brother had a talent for drawing. They hoped he would become an architect. Instead, he married a girl without their approval and moved out of their house. One day I asked if he did it because his parents had thought he was too young, like me, for too many years. My mother flared up in anger and said that he was just immature and didn't know much about life. One thing that remained a mystery to me was that if my brother was so stupid, why should I be the same in my parents' eyes? Why do I have to be responsible for his screw-ups? I was grounded for 4 days. The whole time I was going to school and running home. I even had my mom pick me up from school so I wouldn't get to see Louis. Then the family council met, where my parents made their rules. They gave me a choice and told me that my arrest would end if I broke off all relations with Louis. I got up abruptly from the table and started saying that they had no right to say that I wasn't like my brother and that they were bad, toxic parents. We had a huge fight. They put me in detention for 2 more weeks. I couldn't stand not seeing Louis for that long anymore, so I ran away from school and he took me for a walk. My boyfriend was acting weird. He was texting all the time, hiding his phone and not answering my questions. I took offense and told him he didn't miss me, but Louis kissed me back and I immediately forgot about it. By lunchtime, he brought me to the school district, and I asked him to meet me tomorrow, and he told me, "What about school?" "Don't you want to see me?" I asked. "I do, I really do. It's just that I have some problems." "What kind of problems? Why didn't you tell me? What's wrong?" "No, I can't ask you to do that." "Tell me, I'll help you with anything. Just tell me." "Then your parents would kill me, and you too. They already forbid us to see each other. What will happen if they find out you helped me?" But I didn't want to hear anything but the heart of the problem. After a little hesitation, Louis asked to borrow money. He needed $2,000. I knew my parents had that money, and I knew where it was. I took it secretly and gave it to Louis in the morning. He was so happy and then told me he loved me. I almost lost my mind. Then Louis disappeared for a few days. He showed up one night when my folks were asleep. At first, I wanted to berate him when I went out into the yard, but then I found him all beat up. "Oh, the horror Sir, what's the matter with you? Who did this? What happened? I questioned him. He sat down on the ground and told me that some bad guys had beaten him up for not bringing enough money. How much more do you need? I asked, without even hearing the rest of it, and he voiced the amount. I left him and went up to the house while my parents were asleep. I pulled out another $3,000 and brought it out to him. He didn't want to take it, but I was so afraid he might get killed or hurt some more. He thanked me and left. The next morning, my parents said they had to go out on business. I asked to go for a walk, but they wouldn't let me. In between their conversations, I heard that they were going to visit my brother. What? A visit? So they lied to me. So he's out there somewhere, living his life in pleasure, and I have to take care of these two people? That wouldn't do, so I decided that I had to finally see my brother and look him in the eye. I followed my parents. We drove for a long time, and finally, we arrived. What kind of building is this? I wondered. Some people were standing there in overalls with guns, and I felt uncomfortable. Then I noticed that my parents were checking their documents and something else. I got scared and ran back, but they stopped me. They asked me who I was and where I was from. My parents turned around at my explanation. They were very surprised at the sight of me, but then lied that I was just a child and they'd lost me a little. I walked up to them. My mother pinched my arm lightly. We walked down a long hallway. Mom cornered her mouth and said to me, "What the hell are you doing here? Who asked you to follow us? I told you to stay home. Do you want to sit in detention for another year?" Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were coming here. Why did you come here? What's in here? Dad was quiet, and Mom said that they'd come to visit my brother. We went into the room where they took my brother out in handcuffs. I had a bunch of questions in my head. What? Is my brother a prisoner? What is he in for? Why is he in here? Why wasn't I told anything? My brother looked at me and smiled. Well, did you find out your brother was here after all? Must be embarrassing for you, huh? You must have been lied to a lot. That I ran away somewhere? No, I can't run anywhere, he said, laughing. I asked, what are you in jail for? And he said he didn't listen to his parents once, stole money from them for the bad guys, got involved with the wrong people, and there you go. He showed me his handcuffs, and I felt sick. My mom immediately said it was because he didn't listen to them, and my brother confirmed it. I remembered Louis right away. I was scared and ashamed. But worse than that, when we were sitting in the room with my brother and my parents, Louis walked in. He didn't see us right away because he walked in with his back to us. Then he threw some money on Louis' table and said, I found some money for you, brother. There was $5,000 on the table. Do you know what happened next? My father almost beat up my brother and Louis. My boyfriend turned out to be an acquaintance of my brother's, and they were looking for money to get him out quickly so he could get on with his dirty business. We left there in a big scandal. It's a good thing it never happened.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joko. You'll think I'm just a normal teenager. I'm short with shoulder-length hair, but it looks weird when I'm going to work instead of school. Yes, you heard right. I work as a marketing manager for an advertising company, and for a long time. Do you want to know how it happened? I'll tell you all about it. You will be surprised to learn that I am, by the way, a valuable employee at work. I have many friends, acquaintances, and good colleagues. I am independent and provide for myself. You may ask, where are my parents? I left them for another city when I was 18 years old. Yes, you hear me right. Now you have a question in your head about how old I really am. I'm 30 now. Are you shocked? I'll tell you more. Not only are you in shock, but all the people around me. In general, actually it's kind of a family thing. On my mother's side, my grandmother doesn't look her age. Yes, even my mother. She is now 50 years old and looks 30. And she also has a tiny figure. She has gorgeous black hair, white teeth, all her own. She can't afford to wear fashionable, youthful things and looks just gorgeous. She and my dad are the same age, but he looks like her father. Some passers-by are even slightly perplexed when they kiss each other on the lips at parting. My mom says it's all about genetics. My dad is American and my mom is Japanese, and her wonderful genes were passed on to me. I grew up, by the way, like all ordinary babies. First I learned to sit, then stand, walk, and so on. And then, when I was 12 years old, my appearance seemed to freeze in place. So eventually, I turned 15, then 18, and I still looked like a teenager. My mother immediately noticed that I took after her. She warned me that in life I will have some difficulties, so I should be prepared for this and carry my ID everywhere. I kissed my parents goodbye and left home when I went to college. It was located in a neighboring city, so I had to learn independence from that moment. So the difficulty started as soon as I arrived at the bus stop. The saleswoman asked me how old I was because she didn't want to sell me a ticket. I showed my ID as proof, but she looked at it for probably 15 minutes. My bus had already left during this time, and she still did not believe that the document was authentic. I was in a bad mood, but I was allowed to leave. I arrived at my dorm, and the same problems were waiting for me there. On the first couple of days at school, among the students, the teachers noticed me and asked where my mother was or whose sister I was. As soon as I told them my name, they believed I was covering for my older brother or sister. Sometimes it got to the point where they called my parents via video link with a director to prove my age and name. Absurd! I was starting to get really mad at the way I looked. 6 months later, my patience broke at the end when I went to the store to buy a laptop through a card. These 6 months, I saved money by honest work, making essays and practical tasks to order. I did a good job of creative work. I drew and wrote well. With this money, I decided to buy a better computer. But the seller thought that I stole the card from my mother and wouldn't take it. Because of the scandal and nerves, I was taken to the police station and my mother had to go to another city to get me out of prison. I despaired and did not know what to do. Then my mother opened her purse and showed me her makeup when we came to my dorm room. I didn't understand what it was for because I never wore makeup. But my mother said that's how she saved herself once, and she gave me a light makeup to make me look a little older. Then she took me shopping and we completely changed my wardrobe. We bought more classic things. All my sneakers had been replaced with shoes, torn jeans and trousers, and I changed my t-shirts for blouses. And now I was wearing elegant handbags. I now had to do styling and makeup every day. But you know what? It really helped me. At least I looked a couple of years older, not like a child. Of course, I was very tired of putting on a marathon every day, but I liked that I was perceived differently now. When I graduated from college and started looking for a job, my resume was also surprising because people couldn't believe that a 16 to 17-year-old girl had already graduated from college. I was called for an interview to personally look at me, and I explained to everyone what cool genes I have. In general, I was hired after all. And no, not because of my appearance, but because of my knowledge and skills. Sometimes I still hear colleagues chattering about my height, and on New Year's Day, they gave me a pacifier or a bottle of milk. But nevertheless, I know that this is kind. You know, looking young is great, and I can't wait to look like my mom. I think it's only at that point that it's a real compliment. A couple of months later, one of my colleagues came up to me at work and told me that she had a girlfriend. She is a photographer and is looking for models to advertise teen clothing. I already took the hint and flatly refused such an offer, but she persuaded me with fees. Yes, they paid very well, and I thought for a couple of minutes and agreed. After all, extra money never hurts. When I got to the studio, the staff were talking to me because I wasn't wearing makeup. The photographer herself knew the whole truth. She saw how awkward I was and immediately took the situation into her own hands. She asked her colleagues not to do this. I was given clothes, I tried them on, and they were just right for me. I looked just like a schoolgirl. After taking a few series of pictures, I was paid and went home. Within a week, the pictures were hanging on huge banners in the city. I was so angry. If I had known that the pictures would be hanging around the city, I would never have agreed, I shouted. My colleagues took selfies against the background of the advertisement and sent them to me. I felt like a real child. I got hysterical again and called my mother. Mom came to me with my favorite buns, which she baked. I ate them and cried. Mom, why do we have such a curse? I asked her. but she said that this is not a curse, but a gift. I didn't agree with her, but my mother explained that a person can buy everything except youth. Not many people have this kind of gift. I'm proud that we are special, my mother said, and I suddenly realized that this was true. We don't have to have facial plastic surgery, facelifts, and Botox just to remove wrinkles. I liked this idea, and from that moment, I accepted myself as I am. Well, life has become easier. As for the others, I've learned to hold out my middle finger held high. If you liked my story, please like it, write comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.